Good morning, guys. I am back, and I just got to shout out Jordy, who handled the BDFS show last night solo. I just wasn't feeling good, and it wasn't like some major emergency or anything. I just, I don't know if it was, but my wife made some delicious brownies last night, and like a child, I ate the raw batter in the bowl left over, cleaned the spoon, went to town on it, felt nostalgic. I just love it. But yeah, I mean, shortly after that, I was just feeling pretty rough, and I was kind of, not feeling in good shape. And so I was talking to Jordy, and he was down to just cover for me, but I had to get out some picks for you for this slate because this is a very exciting slate. Did not have a good day yesterday. My plays did not do well, and I'm looking to reestablish my approach today. I put together a 6-man. I was almost just going to do 4. I'm not doing any demons today. I just want to get some wins on the board. But I did end up liking this 6-man, so I'm going to share the whole 6-man with you. But shout out Jordy for coming in clutch and covering for me last night. Go check out the Backdoor Fantasy Sports video. He put out a bunch of picks, and then go check out his channel too, which is at Jordy BDFS. He's got picks on his own channel as well. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the Sunday slate. We got 3 games, and these are the picks that I'm excited about. Again, I want to hit a 6-man with you guys. I want to hit some plays. So, yeah, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop me a comment if you have any questions about anything. And if you guys don't mind, like the video. Let's get a win today. So these are the plays I'm feeling good about. Javonte Williams, 5.5 fantasy score. I'm loving this play. I think I don't get it. Like I'll get into it, but Javonte Williams, running back for the Denver Broncos, 5.5 fantasy score. James Cook, running back for the Buffalo Bills on the opposite side in this game. I like his fantasy score too, over 12. Jalen McMillan, wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going with his fantasy score over 11.5. And then quarterback for the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 50.5 rushing yards. I'm going to be taking that for more. Saquon Barkley, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with his fantasy score over 18.5. And then Brandon McManus, kicker for the Green Bay Packers. I'm taking his fantasy score over 7.5. So I'm going to try to get through these quick because I got to get to church here pretty soon. But let's just get right into it. So Javonte Williams, I know that there's been this like running back by committee situation, but for the Broncos, but I think that Sean Payton, what he's done with the Broncos has been awesome, and I would love to see them advance. And I'm always, rooting for the underdogs, but it's been awesome to see how quickly he got this team into shape and the way he's developed Bo Nix. And he's been getting all of his running backs touches, and he's been kind of experimenting and getting his rookie wide receivers involved. And then it's like these guys all have a little bit of experience, and now it's time to go into the playoffs, and we're seeing guys like Cortland Sutton getting steady work. He's getting back into I feel like he got his younger guys some experience and got them some snaps, and now he's solidifying his veterans with their role. And I think that in this game, Javonte Williams, even if it is a committee, I think that Javonte Williams is going over 5.5 fantasy score. I think that's just ridiculous. His last game against Kansas City, tough matchup, in a game that they really needed to win. I obviously backup guys for Kansas City, but still pretty stout defense. But in that game that they really needed to win, he went for 50 receiving yards, 28 rushing yards. I know this is really spotty, but 5.5 fantasy score is so low. This is a back who is basically their pass catching back, but I think he's going to be involved enough to get a 6 fantasy score. I just think that's ridiculous. So the matchup is solid. 17th in rushing yards allowed to running backs, 32nd in receiving yards, which is his specialty, and that's specifically to running backs. If we go overall, they're only 22nd in receiving yards allowed, so there's a major soft spot there for receiving yards. Let's take a look at this over/under. This might take a second to load because I didn't have this ready. Oh, I'm excited for this slate, guys. The first 2 games were pretty fun. not what we wanted, not what I wanted. My plays did not do well, but we're going to bounce back today. We got 3 solid games, and I just love the intensity behind playoff football. So this Denver Broncos Buffalo Bills game is a 47.5 point over under. Bills favored by 8.5, playing in Buffalo. I haven't checked the weather for this particular game, but if we do have, I'll pull it up real quick, but if we do have bad weather, I think that's just going to be more of a reason to have the running backs involved. Let me just pull this up real quick. Okay, so supposed to be cold, 34 degrees, cloudy skies, high of 34, winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, 21% chance of rain, but they're not calling for snow until Monday, 80% chance on Monday. So yeah, like I said, if there was inclement weather, that's just better for the running backs. So they are going to be playing from behind most likely, and that means that they're going to have the pass catching running back in there. Prize Picks is full point PPR. So yeah, I'm feeling good about this. Every catch that he gets is 1 point. So 3 catches could cash this for us if he's averaging 10 yards a carry. Let's see the head-to-head. Last time he played them, this was a while ago. This was back in the 2023 season, but he went for 31 receiving yards, 79 rushing yards. But again, this is just way too low of a line at 5.5, in my opinion. Go with your gut. My plays didn't hit yesterday, so you guys know you don't have to tail me. I'm not trying to claim to be some guy who's going to go buy you a Lambo or something, but it's like we do our best, and we just get into the statistics of it, and I like the way this play looks. If we take a look here, let's just go specifically to his fantasy score, since that's what we're taking. We already looked. Actually, let's look at the matchup for touchdowns. I don't necessarily expect him to get a bunch of touchdowns. They've been using Audric Estime in the red zone because he's only got 4 touchdowns on the season. But this is not some like 15 fantasy score or 15.5 fantasy score. We don't need touchdowns to cash this, but they are 16th in touchdowns allowed. I still think that Audric Estime is probably going to get the goal line work, but yeah, pass catching, I'm all over this. Let's take a look at his fantasy score on the season. So even with him not being that involved, he's hit this at a 71% clip. It's been a little bit spotty lately, but 5.5, I don't have to say it again how ridiculous that line is. So we're going to go with it. But yeah, cleared the fantasy score 71%, 12 out of 17 games this year, even with the running back by committee. So Daily Grind has the fantasy score as the top play, 53.09% odds to hit the over. Obviously, yeah, they expect his rushing and receiving. That looks good too. 29.5 rushing and receiving yards. They've got that favor to go over 50.51, but chances are if he cashes that, he's cashing that fantasy score. They like the longest reception at 9.5. I do too. And they've only got that, barely favored over, 50.46% odds to hit the over. But just give me the fantasy score. That's awesome. So let's keep it rolling. So James Cook, I think his fantasy score is low too, at just 12 flat. If you look at the matchup here, 5th in rushing yards allowed, so tough, but he's very capable. And I think that in this playoff style football, they're going to be using their best guys, obviously. But yeah, 5th in rushing yards allowed, 26th in receiving yards allowed. Another great pass catching running back. And even though it's a tough matchup, on last time he matched up against Denver, which again was in 2023, he was able to break off 109 rushing yards and 11 receiving yards. Let's see how he did on his touchdowns. Again, I wouldn't expect. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he got in the end zone. That year he didn't get that many touchdowns that year. I think he got like 4 on the season, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just curious. Let's pull it up. 6. He got 6 on the season. But this year he's just gone nuts with the touchdowns. If we take a look, I'm not going to count all those, but it's been a lot. And he's got 8 touchdowns in his last 4 games. So those of you who follow football know that James Cook has had an amazing year. So yeah, this fantasy score at 12. These last 2 games he didn't get it done. We have that Game against New England where they weren't playing their starters. He still went for 8.8 fantasy score, but they played them for like the first quarter, maybe first half, and then they got them out of there. In the game before that against the Jets, 40-14, absolute blowout. He went for 11.3, but in games that really matter, earlier on, 27, 26, he's very capable of just getting this done. He went for 19 against San Francisco. That's a really tough matchup. Tough matchup against Kansas City. He went for 19.7. This is just at 12. This is just way too low. I think he's gonna get it done. So yeah, we like the matchup. We like the line we're getting. We talked about the over under. So I expect them to be playing with the lead and to be running the ball. Ty Johnson has been getting a little bit more work lately, which I'm kind of surprised because I think Ray Davis looks better. But they've got two backups that are pretty solid, but James Cook is going to get the majority of the work in this game. Let's take a look here what Daily Grind thinks. They don't like the fantasy score, so go with your gut. They have it just slightly favored to the under, 50.43% odds to hit the under, and it's just because it's at 12 on Prize Picks, and a lot of these other platforms have it in the high 11s. Caesars has it at 12.1, but yeah, I'm rolling the over here. This is just super low and such an important game, so I'm feeling good about it. You don't have to take it if you don't want it. Jaden Daniels. So I really like this matchup for him running the ball. Tampa Bay loves to blitz. Todd Bowles is an awesome defensive mind. That's kind of like how he made his name for himself, actually as a defensive coordinator for my Cardinals. And then he got the head coaching job with the Jets. And then he got he went back to defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Bruce Arians. And then he ended up inheriting the head coaching job when Bruce retired. But he loves to put pressure on guys. They're kind of like a pass funnel a little bit. But that pressure on Jaden Daniels, he is really hard to tackle. And I think that's going to force him to scramble a little bit more. So yeah, the matchup 18th in rushing yards allowed. Let's look overall. Yeah, 4th overall. So major soft spot. They have more trouble with mobile quarterbacks, up at 18th. And then if we look at the last time they played, he went for 88 yards. This was this season. This was the first game, I believe, of the year for them. That game ended up being 37-20. So even in a huge deficit, he was still very active on his feet. Yeah, I think that was his first game. That was when he broke out, I believe. Let's take a look here. His first game, he actually got hit a couple times and just kept running the ball. It was a little bit clunky because it was their first outing, but he's absolutely brought it together. This team, it's unbelievable what they've done. This last game against Atlanta, relatively tough matchup, 127 rushing yards for a quarterback. 81 against Philly, they're tough. And then 66 against New Orleans, who hasn't been that tough lately, but we're loving this play. Let's see if we got a note from Outlier. Okay, they don't like this little note. That's if it's to the under. We want the over. Okay, yeah. So, so what's this note? There's something they're telling us here. Failed to exceed 49.5 rushing yards in 6 out of his last 7 games on the road. So hasn't been doing as well on the road. So keep that in mind. Remember, you guys don't have to take these plays, but I'm gonna take this one for more. I think he's gonna be scrambling because I think that the pressure is just gonna be on him. So yeah, I could be wrong. You always got to trust your gut. Let's take a look here at the optimizer. They like the rushing yards to go over. 50.5% odds to hit the over. 50.5 is the line. 51.72% odds to hit the over, minus 126. We got some platforms bumping this up to 52.5. But I mean, that doesn't always that doesn't really make that big of a difference when we're talking yardage, but still, we're getting it all the way down at 50.5 on Prize Picks, so 2 yards could be the difference, but I think he's going to probably go for 60 or 70. This might be demon worthy for me. I might throw together a demon slip and throw that in there, see what they let me bump it up to. All right, Saquon Barkley. I mean, do I have to tell you about Barkley? The dude has been an absolute... he had an opportunity to break the record. I mean, look at this game. My God. 302 rushing yards in one game against LA. Unbelievable. He's got that big play ability where he could just, I mean, we've seen him do it all year, and you guys saw that highlight where he did the like reverse turnaround, like jump, and the dude, you know, fell between his legs. Like, he's just been like a ninja out there. Like, dude's like playing in the Matrix. But as far as his rushing and receiving goes, a little bit tough matchup. 8th in rushing yards allowed, 27th in receiving yards allowed. We know he's a great pass catcher, and they don't really utilize him that way that much, but they haven't really needed to. Whatever they're doing is working. So yeah, let's take a look at the head-to-head. First game of the year, he played Green Bay. He went for 109 rushing yards, 23 receiving yards. This game back here is when he was playing with New York, so there's a lot of reasons why he probably didn't cash that. But the fantasy score 18.5 is just disrespectful. The dude is an absolute beast. He's got a killer O-line, and they know how to use him. But look at this matchup. Even with that trash old offense with New York, he still was able to get 2 touchdowns on him. Then last time, first game of the year, he matched up against Green Bay. He went for 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, yeah, give me that fantasy score. Give me a little bit of everything. I'm happy to take it. And let's see. Let's just take a look at the fantasy score. So yeah, he still crushed that fantasy score even back with New York because of those 2 touchdowns most likely, but 24.1 fantasy score. And then last time he matched up with him, 33.2. And then if we take a look at the 2024 season, how often has he gone over 18.5? 56% of the time, 9 out of 16 games. So I'll take 18.5 all day for Saquon Barkley. Let's take a look here. They don't like the fantasy score on Daily Grind. They often don't like fantasy scores though, but man, we got FanDuel down here at 16.8. A lot of these are in the 16s, but a lot of these are like half point PPR. So I think sometimes there's a little bit of a weirdness with the line discrepancies with the optimizer. I don't know if it totally accounts for full PPR versus half PPR, but it probably does. But either way, I like this to go over. If you don't, they like his receptions over 2. They have that at a 52.1% odds to hit the over. They like his rushing receiving yards to go over. So 118.5 rushing receiving. They like that to go over. 51.64% odds to hit the over. But I just think, man, last time he matched up with him, he got 3 touchdowns. I think there's going to be 1 touchdown in there. And if he clears the rushing and receiving, we're getting that fantasy score. But if for some reason he doesn't clear that and he's able to get in the end zone a couple times, you know, we're good to go. So I'm absolutely rolling this play over. Brandon McManus. So this is my last play. I like the fantasy score. You can take the kicking points if you want, even if you know, that's just up to you if you want to take this play. But yeah, I mean, they've been relying on him quite a bit. So this is set to kicking points right now. He's cleared the 7 out of his last 10 games. Let's just look at the whole 2024 season. Yeah, so 7 out of 11 in the 2024 season. The kicking points is a little bit tougher. Philly, they just happen, like, teams don't tend to kick successfully against them that much. 7th in kicking points allowed. But the reason that I want to take the fantasy score instead is because if we take a look at the length of attempts here that I have it set on, he's been kicking from a decent amount. So in this last game against Chicago, he had 2 40-plus field goals, and he had 1 50-yarder. So that equates to a lot more. That's you know, for fantasy score, because with kicking points, you get 3 points for every field goal and 1 point for the extra points. With fantasy score, you get more points if it's a further kick. So a 40-plus yarder is worth 4 points. A 50-yarder is worth 5 points. And we're looking at 6.5 kick points is the line. And then for fantasy score, it's 7.5. So chances are if he hits the kicking points, he's hitting that fantasy score as well. But yeah, let's go back and look at that one more time. So yeah, that's just the last game. So we'll go back to length of field goals. And then even this game against Minnesota, he kicked once and sank it, and it was a 40-yarder. So actually that one was less than 40. That was, that one was, I think maybe that was more than 40. Yeah, that was less than 40. So I had that wrong. This was 1 50-yarder and 2 under 40. But you can see a lot of these 50-yarder, 3, under 40, and then one between 40 and 49. So I want that extra value of the distance for the field goals to stack up the fantasy score. But if you prefer the kicking points and you even want to take this play, just go with the kicking points. But they've just been really relying on him for the kicking points. He's cleared this, again, 7 out of 11 games on the 2024 season. But if you look at more recently, it's been pretty solid. 4 out of his last 5. One more field goal would have done it here. Actually, is that the one where we said it was just one kick? Oh no, there's some extra points in there as well. That's what that is. I was thinking I was on fantasy score again. But yeah, 4 out of his last 5. And then I'll just show you, if we're on the fantasy score, you can see how these scores are a little bit different because of the distance of the kick. So I'm feeling good about it. Let's take a look here. They only are showing, let me refresh it. Daily Grind doesn't have the fantasy score up here, but they love the kicking points to go over. They have it as top play. Not that there's a lot to choose from for a kicker, but they have this favor to go over, 51.43% odds to hit the over, -123. So everyone's got this at 6.5, and it's all favored to go over on every platform. So if you like the kicking points better, just go with that. But I'm going to go fantasy score personally. But that's going to wrap up the plays here. If you guys appreciate the content, show me a little bit of support, just liking the video. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate all of you guys from Backdoor Fantasy Sports who've come over and supported mine and Jordy's personal channels. But guys, enjoy your Sunday. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go head to church. I gotta go rehearse and get ready to drum with my crew over there. But yeah, guys, enjoy your Sunday, and I might post a demon slip to the community section later on when I build one out. So if you guys want to see what I'm getting into, just make sure you're subscribed and look for it in the community section. I'll post it, and I'll give a little breakdown of what I like and don't like. And my church gets out at like 12, so the game starts at 1. So we'll see. I might end up posting a slip for the 2 later games, like make a demon slip out of those games. I might not be able to get it done in time for the first game. But guys, have a great Sunday, and we'll catch you in the next one.